well, my background is I'm a cameraman, freelance cameraman by trade, and I also teach a little bit as well. So this is a first for me. And like the film itself is a lot of firsts. There's not, I mean, most people who worked on this are first timers. I mean, that's probably evident from watching it, but and I include myself in that. I mean, although I've worked in television for 12 years as a freelance cameraman and taught this rubbish for a long time, I still consider myself to be as my debut as a virgin. I've never done anything like that before. So there's only a couple of professional people in there. I think they're stand-ups. I think there are 3 actors. Leon, Gemma, who plays Polly, Gavin, which is played by Jack Marsden, sleazy individual, and Bernard, played by Martin Cosgrave. Everybody else is first timers. They're like students and just people I knew and things like that. Calling a few favours, a kid, and things like that. So it was just to see if we could do this sort of thing really, and just to have a go. Okay.
Nicky, how about finding, the crew and the equipment? Well, how did you source these things out?
Just pulled in favours and borrowed kit and bought a little bit that we didn't have and things like that. I mean, it's shot on DSLR just like John's POW, Count 5D, recorded on separate digital audio. We had a little glider for a few nice little tracking shots. It's all pretty bog standard stuff really, very cheap, and I cut it myself on Final Cut. So I think most of the time went in trying to get stuff together. I mean, it was very low budget. I mean, nobody was paid. I mean, we just and there's a lot of people in it, so extras just turned up and helped us out. We bought them a beer. All those extras in the bar scene, we just bought them a couple of beers, and they quite happily just sung along with whatever. And Leon and Gemma and the actors themselves gave up a lot of their time for just expenses. So much appreciated.
Very good. Right, there are some snippets in that film, some archive footage of yourself. Now.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Now,
I was trying to think. Obviously, watching John, I think we have like the Second World War footage in there or something like that. No, yes, I understand what you're referring to. There's a shot where Marvin's reminiscing about his now dead brother, and there's a shot of 2 children playing. Yes, and that is me and our kid when I'm the little blonde one.
So your first foray to filming?
That was supposed to, but that was my granddad who made it. So.
Right, very good. Okay.
Was anybody confused by that? I know a few people have watched that and they're a bit confused about those 2 children and the children from the previous scene. Because the children in the previous scene where they go and get the guitar and everything are my 2 children. So the little blonde one at the back kind of looks a bit like me. So I think a lot of people are getting a bit confused. Are they the same children? No, they're not. No. So I really thought of that, but somebody mentioned it to me.
Oh, very good. Right, okay. Sorry. Okay, concepts. Okay, concepts, script, screenplay. There's a lot of noir themes in there, black comedy. How did you come on with this?
Well, I think that the comedy stuff was put in afterwards. I wrote that after we started shooting. I was a bit worried that he was going to be a bit too much of a miserable fucker. And, and I was a bit concerned that the audience wouldn't stay with it. I mean, I already had these preconceived ideas. I mean, it's not an easy watch. Pace-wise, it's incredibly slow, and that's obviously deliberate. That's the way I wanted it. A lot of people have said, "Have you thought about re-editing it?" Well, no, that's the way I want it. But so it kind of grows into itself as it goes along. But I was a bit concerned. So what could be only described as the midget scenes were thrown in afterwards. I sat there and I thought, I need to lift this character and show a nice side to him, and show a friendlier side to him, and show the side that he's not just constantly miserable and thinking about his dead wife all the time. And I think there is one improvised scene in there, and I think it kind of stands out, and that's you and Cliff.
Yeah, just talking about football, and really that's all it is, really, just talking about different football players as we go from pub to pub. I'm just asking questions, what do you think of this guy? Van Basten, Cantona, Zidane, and he's just giving me all this football knowledge, all about these football players. So that's really that. All that is really the improvised stuff. That's what it came from.
But I think I mean the reason that was put in there. I mean I did want to lighten it up a bit. I also the lad who plays Cliff is my brother. He's my big brother. So he has his own inimitable style and delivery. And he's I worked with him before. And he's done some acting for, but he's not a trained actor. He's not. You know, he's just him really, and he is quite a witty, funny guy. And so I also wanted to expand on that, and I knew that I wanted scenes to lighten Marvin up. But I knew that if I used Cliff, this ridiculous character played by my brother, that those scenes would hopefully lift it. And just so we just had wasn't this just relentless, morbid,
sort of like a release.
Yeah.
Depression.
Yeah. Just about worked. Feel like a good sleep after watching it.
Oh, brilliant. Right. Okay. So you're quite a bright chap, happy, funny guy. How did he manage with dealing with this character who's depressed, who's dealing with loss? How did he conjure that up?
I think it's in us all, that sort of depression, that deep depression. It's just finding it, innit? As an actor, you just find that depression from somewhere, because it's in everyone. Like, just as anyone can be happy, anyone can be sad, and that's it, really.
Okay.
I think why we cast Leon in the lead role was he has a lovely understated quality about it. I think he's a very good screen actor, especially, and I like the kind of stuff that's not said and he's just in the eyes and that kind of thing. And he's if you don't mind me saying, he's quite an intense.
That's great.
So it's a quality that I was looking for in the lead role. You know, I didn't want all that screaming and wailing and all that kind of stuff. As you can see from watching it, it's not. It's about what we don't see and what we don't say rather than what was said.
I think like when you first talked to me about the script, you were mentioning people like Vin Wenders, the sort of lots of long lingering shots.
Yeah, and I did the same with a lot of people like my cinematographer and things like that. They said give us a reference point for style, and I said, you know, Vin Wenders, Ginger Moose. I said if you just watch one film, then watch Paris, Texas.
Yeah.
So that's the kind of pace, that's the kind of atmosphere we're looking for. And the idea was that you've got this gritty northern town, this mill town, dirty little mill town. I can just say that the guy Bernard, who plays Bernard, Martin Cosgrove, for me, he came up with a great description of what he thought the film was. Because he saw it for the first time not so long ago, and obviously he's only just in that one scene. And he watched it, and he asked, "What do you think, Martin?" And this is a guy who's a classically trained actor, and he teaches Shakespeare to Lambda down in Stratford. So he's very Shakespeare's very like that. So that's his spot on northern accent. And he said, "Take a deep breath." He looks at me and went, "It's." He says, "Yes." I said, "Oh God, yeah, it's it," or everything like that. And he said, "No, Steve, I don't need to just follow." I said, "It's Chekhov in Haslingden." So I was like, I think it's maybe a compliment, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, it was, you know, so I kind of like that, because it's like, you know, what doesn't happen? Let's look at the mundanity of life. But the idea was that gritty northern town that we see. But I didn't want that kitchen sink drama, that, you know, gritty realism, and, you know, pregnant teenage mums and drug addicts and all that, and people on the dole and all that. Because that story's been told lots of times. It's obviously real. I wanted, you know, the creative people that live in northern towns, those interesting people, those intelligent people. So those people had a story as well, but still set in that landscape, but hopefully told in a kind of pretentious European visual style. Whether it works or not is another thing, but...
No, well, it does. It's fantastic. You've slaughtered me from the questions. There's so much information there. But identity, the northern identity of the film.
Well, I do remember Leon saying to me in an absolutely beautiful scene, because I think Leon and Gemma Deerfield, who plays Polly, I think is absolutely fantastic, a wonderful actress, and the nice scene at the end where you think they might kiss or might get it together, and she's all teary and what have you, And we played that scene. And I know Gemma, a different Gemma who was working on the set, was a bit teary herself just listening to it, because it was very beautifully put. We basically did it in one take. And you turned to me afterwards, it weren't too Emmerdale, were it, Steve? So I think, I think you worry about that, your accent and things like that, but, that's really
I kept saying to you, what about my accent? And you just said, well, that's you, that's your accent. So
don't be ashamed of it. We love accents.
It's like Sean Bean, innit? He always sticks his own, keeps to his own accent, really, doesn't he? Well, most of the time.
I don't think you can do anything else, but yeah.
Right, can we have some questions from the audience if anyone fancies one? Young lady over there.
What was the biggest difficulty you faced throughout the whole thing?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, and it's evident on the screen for me when I watch it. And I know it's got lots of failings and everything like that. But what I do like when people watch it and they go, "Oh, Steve, why didn't you change that? Why didn't you do that? Why didn't you redo that? And that's a bit rubbish. Why didn't you change that?" And then it's because that's real. And I always think that, well, that's nice that they're telling me that, because they actually think it's worth the effort to actually polish it up and actually finish it off in their eyes. So I couldn't possibly do any more to it. I'm dead, but I've had enough of it. But I think. What was the question?
What was the most difficult?
Yeah, we had all sorts of difficulties. We had a lot of difficulties. Mark Oliver, who plays Felix, he was a massive difficulty. Absolute pain. He was a nightmare. I mean, he's a continuity nightmare. I mean, you don't have a dent in the beard. Good God! I mean, it's kind of obvious. We're talking an afternoon here, and he goes from the dodgy Gary Glitter in court look to the big rough beard. And he turned up on the day. I'm like, what are you doing? We've got absolutely no time, no money, and we've got 12 days to shoot. We'd already lost one day because our original lead actress pulled out. And so we had to totally and utterly reschedule everything. So, yeah, that was a bit of a nightmare. Weather, the stuff outside, pissing down, it's up north, it's always raining, so we had to deal with that. There's all sorts of problems. Sound location sound was a nightmare. Especially with people that, but we're learning on the job. I think it's kind of evident when you watch it, you see it. Not just the film kind of grows into itself, but everybody, it kind of almost gets better as it goes along. It kind of makes more sense as it goes along as well. So yeah, there's lots of problems. There's lots of change it. I mean, it was a learning experience throughout. And I think if we do it again, then I think we'll do it a lot better because we know what we're doing this time.
Gentleman over there.
I thought it was great, excellent.
Oh, thank you very much.
Obviously, the songs and music plays an integral part of the film, and the original thing with Barney Williams.
Yeah.
It obviously forms a motif throughout the film as well.
Yeah.
Did you have that at the start? Was that? Did you have to find that at the end?
Yeah,
I
didn't have the music to start with, but I knew what I wanted from it.
Yeah.
And Barney's a very good friend of mine. Barney wrote the original soundtrack, which is all the piano stuff and all the bluesy stuff. That's all the music in it is completely original, all made for this, apart from a few background stuff, which I'm sure you recognise. Barney Williams he was a pop star in the late 80s in the Milltown Brothers and session musicians for many years. So he'd done all this different types of music, this baggy music and all these kind of things like that. But his first love is boogie woogie, and he absolutely adores it. And I knew that any kind of bluesy stuff, any jazz stuff and boogie woogie stuff, that I said, do you want to write me a score? He went, yeah, I do. I said, I told him what the story was, told him what it was about. It's all about musicians, and like you say, it's an integral part of it is the music. It's it's almost like another character. And I said, this is exactly what I want. And there was 3 basic things that I said, I want this. And he was amazing because he gave me exactly what was in my head. It was absolutely stunning. It was just like, how did you do that? I don't know how you did that. A very talented bloke. And those 3 things were Marvin's motif, the sad piano riff, the montage sequence shot, High and Dry, that song's called. I said, I want these instruments, I want it to have this sentiment, I want it to have this pace, blah, 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 and he just put it together and it was exactly right. And he also wrote me, and I said, I don't know if I want it or not. Because in the original first draft of the script, he actually plays the song at the end. I got him to play it. And then I decided, just before we started shooting, to cut it out. I said he doesn't need it. I don't want him to play it. You know that? You didn't know that, did you? So I didn't want him to play it. So you hear little snippets of it, and he plays it a little bit, instrumental bit at the start of the title sequence, and then you hear little snippets of it, and he's trying to write it, and then obviously when the credits roll, when he's dead, we hear the song he never wrote. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but there you go. But he wanted to write it as well, so that was the song that he never wrote that you hear all the credits to.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Young lady there.
Noticed the locations are absolutely fantastic and the shots echo that. How long did it actually take to sort of scout around the location, especially like, Hill of the Slate, like that top of the Slate, looking down on the tour and all that sort of stuff, and continuity-wise?
I can't, for all that, I think that's what lifts it out and takes it out of all that talking heads and all that tight, character stuff and everything like that. I think all those externals really lift it.
Yeah.
I can't take credit for all that. That's like my cinematographer, Mr. Paul Sparks. We had long conversations about what I want, including very specific shots. I said, I want a wide shot of the viaduct and I want the train going across very, very slowly. He's like, well, yeah, okay. So, yeah, I know. So I was like a bit of a prima donna in that way. So I said, this is what I want. I drew up a massive shot list of them, this is what I want. And then other stuff like the swinging tyre and, like half swinging tyre and the little kids walking past and the alleyways and all this stuff was what he brought to the table as well. So he knew what he wanted and he knew. So I like his stuff as well. He's a good lad.
Very good. Now, I did ask this question to John. What's next? If there is a next. I'm torn between two projects really. I've started writing an original screenplay again, and the Marvin song story was based on a couple of stories that I wrote probably about 15 years ago. In book form, and I never really did anything with them. I adapted the Marvin song into the script. I'm toying with maybe adapting the other one, but it's a bit more. It would require a lot more budget, so I might not be able to do that. So I might stick with the original screenplay. But I will try and write something, and if at all possible, time permitting, children, family, and commitments permitted, then we might do something. Right. Well, I'd like to say thank you very much. There's a couple of little bits of information. John Hamlet's website, www.luna.co.uk/POW. You'll get all the information about the film, news, all sorts of things related to it, and also I think IMDb links. Also, we've got Marvin Songs, www.marvinsong.com. It's all one word, .com. Same goes there. There's links, there's information, photographs.
You can buy the original story on the Kindle as well. If you really want to.
Right, yeah. There you go. Look at that. So there's some information there for buying the original script and all that shenanigans. Okay. Well, can I say thank you to John Hamlet and Leon and Stephen, and thank you very much for watching, and cheers for putting up my questions.